Hi everybody, Susan here with Pumpkin Hill Stampers. I have a Stampin' Show and Tell for you today, and as you can see I'm going to be using 3 different stamp sets to make this beauty of a card. This is actually found on page 157 in the new catalog under the Bokeh Dots sample of the stamp set. I'm going to change it a little bit in the way I did it, but I pretty much followed the sample in the catalog. And if you visit the blog and go to the blog post, I will share with you how they made it in the catalog and how I made it different. So you want to go visit pumpkinhillstampers.com and visit today's blog. The link is below, directly to this blog information, and you'll have all the details. So we're going to be using the Bokeh Dots to make the background. We're going to borrow the palm trees from Waterfront, and then I'm going to use the Relax Your Way sentiment from A Good Man. So let's go ahead and get started. This is kind of a fun technique, and it looks a little bit challenging, but it's really not. So here is our basic supplies for this card. Now this is note size, so it's 5 by 3.5 when folded, and I am going to tell you I've actually cut mine down to be about 4 7/8 by 3 1/4, because with all of this embellishment on top, it's going to be a little bit snug in those note folders. So if you cut it down just a little bit, it's going to fit better into those note size envelopes. So I'm using Pear Pizzazz as my card base, and I have run that through the Big Shot with my subtle dynamic folder just to give it a little bit of texture. So there's just one little easy embellishment to do. So I've got that folded in half for my note size card. Now, they use a little piece of vellum to soften the background. So I've just pulled some scrap. You can see on this one it's a little bit wider, this one's a little bit thinner. And I'm just going to attach that with some snail. And I'm just going to put it right in the middle because that'll be hidden behind our main focal point there. And as you can see, when you put adhesive on vellum, it's a little bit tricky to not see it. But by hiding it behind another element, that's great. And so my ends are just going to be loose for that. Now I've got a piece of basic black, which will become my mount, my Whisper White, and then I have my 2 little pieces of Whisper White and Bermuda Bay, which will become my little sentiment here when I'm done. But let's go ahead and do the fun part of the stamping. So here is my Bokeh Dots, right? I'm going to use 3 markers. Now in the catalog they used Pacific Point, Bermuda Bay, and Old Olive, so I stuck with that. And what we're going to do is we're going to paint our stamp with the markers. So I use my brush tip. And as you can see, I haven't cleaned it from my previous sample, so I'm just going to follow right along. So I'm just adding, I usually add my middle color first. So this is the Bermuda Bay. Okay, so I'm just adding my ink onto my stamp. So direct ink the stamp. Then I'm going to pull in my Old Olive. Okay, and I do kind of let my colors overlap a little bit at the seams. I don't want there to be any blank lines in my background image, right? Now you can apply ink in many ways. You can do as I'm doing. You could also use a dauber and your ink pad and dauber it onto your stamp if you wanted a little bit lighter, muted color, but I went direct with the markers today. Okay, so there is my color. Now I gotta huff it, which means just kind of hot breath on it. So I'm gonna take this up. That kind of reignites the ink so it's nice and moist. And I'm just gonna stamp this down on my Whisper White paper. Now I did cut my Whisper White paper larger than the size of my stamp, and you'll see why in just 1 second. So I want to make sure that's really transferring the ink. Good. So now you can see I've got this white frame around. So you could use your paper trimmer. I'm just going to use my paper snips, but I'm just going to come in and very closely cut off my white edging. So my entire background will be color. Okay, so the nice thing about this stamp is that it's kind of the reverse image. So you've got this great kind of watercolor washed out background, which we've put 3 colors on, but then there's all these little white specks that kind of look like stars. which makes this just a stunning image to use as a background. So, as you can see, I've just trimmed that nice and close. Now, we're going to stamp the palm trees next. So I'm going to bring in my memento, and I'm going to stamp my stems. Get that really good on my memento. I'm just going to ink my stems over here, right through my tree trunks. And then I'm going to come in with the palm tree tops. And I'm going to marry those up. So now I have palm trees on there, right? Now, as you can see, when I put that on my black, it really kind of pops there, right? But they did something else in their sample in the catalog. They've trimmed it so it looks kind of like an island, right? So I'm going to do the same thing. So again, I'm just going to come with my paper trimmer, my paper snips, and I'm just going to give it a curved edge, kind of up to where those palm tree bottoms come in and then come back down. And I just kind of give it a curved bottom. Alright? So that wasn't hard. And then I'm just going to go ahead and snail that right to that basic black background. And put that right on my card. So let's just keep going. Go right to our card. Just going to center it here. There we go. Alright, so now for our little sentiment. Like I said, I'm borrowing that Relax Your Way from A Good Man stamp set. So I'm going to bring my memento back in. Now I'm starting with just a 1/2 inch of Whisper White scrap. Okay, and I'm just going to stamp this on there. Okay, now that's not so straight. So let me flip it over and try again. Remember, cardstock has 2 sides. So use them when you need to restamp. Okay, better. So now I'm just going to come in with my paper snips and I'm going to trim that to size. I'm also going to make it a little bit thinner. So I'm going to come right along the base of my words, cut that, and go right across the top as well. Now, if you have a paper trimmer you really love and you trust, you certainly can trim these right up on your paper trimmer. Sometimes I find it's just as satisfying to do it with your scissors. Alright, so now I've also got this piece of Bermuda Bay, and it's a 1/2 inch, and I'm going to mount that right like this. But look, I don't really want it a 1/2 inch wide. That's kind of big. So again, I'm going to trim it. So first I'm going to go ahead and put mini dimensionals on the back of my little sentiment here. And I'm going to put those on so that the adhesive will be hidden behind there, and I'm just going to pop those off. Now I'm going to go ahead and position this onto my Bermuda Bay where I want the edging to show, okay, but it's really close. So now I can come in and once again I can trim this up. Right along the edges. And then I'm just going to add some adhesive to the back of that. And that's going to go right onto my card. There we go. Alright, so now for just one little splash of sparkle on there, I've got my rhinestones. I'm just going to add maybe 3. I'm going to add 2 over here. I'm going to put 1 more kind of over here, right? And if you want to, you can put them right on those white spots of that background stamp. So there we go, right? That wasn't difficult. Fun little stamping card for us to do, straight inspiration from the catalog, and put together our way. So like I said, if you enjoyed today's show and tell tutorial, I invite you to come on over to the website, pumpkinhillstampers.com. You can subscribe to my blog posts. Okay, so every time I share something new with you, which I try to do Monday through Friday, you would get a direct email into your inbox saying, hey, there's something new here, you can come and visit. So in addition to my tutorials my video tutorials, I also share my demo swaps, some catalog highlights, special projects, and anything currently going on with promotions. So you can also get your PDF tutorials from my tutorial library, or if you're a VIP, you can get those for free through the newsletter. Alright, so there's my little spiel. So come on over to the blog, visit, subscribe, let me know what you think of the cards today. I love getting comments. Show me that you appreciate what it is I'm putting together and sharing, and give yourself a try on this one. It's kind of fun to do a background and then a black image on top. It's different. So different is fun. Alright everybody, I hope you do some fun stamping today, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.